In 1995, I moved from Guam to Washington State. A year later, I was living in an apartment with a girl that I had lived with in the dorms. And we were watching TV, and it was President Clinton's second run for office. And we were watching TV, and she says to me, "Who are you voting for?" And I was like, I was speechless, because in that moment, in that millisecond, I realized, as a resident of Guam, I vote for nobody. I can't vote for anybody. But yet I lived in this apartment with this roommate. We paid the same amount of rent. We shared the groceries in the refrigerator. I mean, everything that we did, we shared. But yet I did not share in a voice with her. My voice was silent. She could speak on behalf of me. This wasn't fair. It wasn't fair. And I remember that night I called up my mom and I said, "Mom, is this the way that it is?" And she said, "Hopi, this is the way that it is." And I just started crying. And I said, I will not, and I will continue to fight for my own rights and the rights of the Chamorro people. It's not right that there are citizens in this country that are second class. That the United States Constitution does not apply to some United States citizens. In a country where we pride ourselves on the pursuit of happiness, liberty, equality, but there are citizens in this country that do not have that right. The people of Guam, I have more rights now as a resident of California than my mom does and my dad. So, do I vote? You better bet I vote. Because I will not take for granted that voice. If you know people that are not voting and using that voice, remind them that there are people out there that are citizens of this country that do not have that. And it's a luxury. It really is. Because as you see in the film and as you see, we are a people that are taken advantage of. And we can be, because we do not follow the United States Constitution. They can do whatever, the United States can do whatever they want in Guam. And we really have no recourse. Why do we go to the United Nations? Well, the late mid-50s to 1960 was a lot of this movement towards decolonizing around the world. We realized the horrors with South Africa, and the United Nations said we can no longer have this. Colonies in the world are not okay. So in 1960 they said we are going to create this declaration. It's called the Declaration for the Independence of Colonized People and Countries. So here we have this declaration from 1960. Guam was listed under that list in 1960, and then the Committee of 24 at the United Nations was created. This is who we, as Chamorros that you see in the film, this is where we go. We go to the Committee of 24, and we continue to tell our story. We continue to say, we are a colony of the United States. The United States is not listening to us. They continue to ignore us. We suffer all these social ills. This needs to stop. Now, on Sunday we showed this film, and we had the question, now why, what is the United Nations doing? You know, can we go there? Can we fight there? Well, the reality of it is that the United Nations is funded, 25% of the funding that is given to the United Nations comes from the United States. So it's a biased form. But yet, the ideals of this declaration, we continue to hold them to, and the ethics of this world that says that colonies are not okay, the taking advantage and the subjugation of people and the oppression of people are not okay. You need to continue to decolonize the world. And that's why we do that. Felmoxizing has gone again in 2007 as a group. And we do it on our own dime. We pay for our own way there. We get a little bit of help, but a lot of it is paid by us. So the donations that you give are very, very helpful for us to continue to keep fighting. What else was I going to say? The DEIS is another strong arm from the United States to say, we can do whatever we want. And they can. An 11,000-page document is not normal for an EIS. An EIS is normally 300 to 400 pages. In 45 days, you have time to review that. They gave us an 11,000-page document and told us to review it in 45 days. They said, okay, we'll give you 90 days. We had 90 days to respond. Last night, midnight, was the last moment to respond to the DEIS. And a lot of organizations, a lot of people, just normal people like you and I, are getting together. My sisters that you saw in the film, they're not researchers, but they sat down with this and they wrote comments every day a couple weeks before it was due. So there are people that are speaking out now, and it's so moving to me to see my people now, coming out and speaking out. And one thing I wanted to mention that Craig talked about is that some of the lands, they're looking at taking some of these lands away from us. In addition to the 1/3 that they already own, they want to take 40% more. There's a lot of injustice that goes on in Guam. Just, I just encourage you to continue to talk about it amongst your friends. You can do that in 5 minutes. Write to your representative. As people in Guam don't have the voice, we do here. We have congresspeople that look out for your interests in your own counties, right? So you can write to them and talk to them about what's going on. Help us, Famuk-Saizen, to keep spreading the word. And that's my story. Thank you.
Chapter 1, verse 3 of the book of Revelation reads, "Blessed are those who read aloud the words of the prophecy, and blessed are those who hear and who keep what is written in it, for the time is at hand." As some of you might know, Revelation derives from the Greek word apocalypsis, which was the original name for that book of the Bible. And that word means to uncover or to make manifest or to reveal. The National Environmental Policy Act of 1969 requires federal agencies to examine the environmental effects of their proposed actions. On behalf of the Department of Defense, the Department of the Navy prepared the Draft Environmental Impact Statement, or the DEIS, to assess the potential environmental effects associated with the military buildup on Guam. Released last November, the DEIS is a 9-volume, 11,000-page document. Since the plan for the military buildup was established in 2006 and reaffirmed by the Obama administration in 2009, much has been concealed from the Chamorro people. Now, with the release of the DEIS, that veil has been lifted, and we see the true meaning of apocalypsis. For too long, our people have embraced the U.S. military as our liberators, our saviors, our Holy Father. What we have been shown through the bleak vision of the biblical DEIS is that the U.S. military is a devil in uniform, tempting us with false promises of wealth and prosperity. These devils are also in the details. According to the DEIS, the height of the buildup will bring more than 80,000 new residents to Guam, 8,600 Marines, their 9,000 dependents, 7,000 transient Navy personnel, 1,000 Army personnel, and 20,000 foreign workers. This will increase Guam's overall population by about 30%, causing a 20-year population growth over the next 5 years. Like the invasive brown tree snakes that colonized Guam's environment and decimated our native bird population, and like the invasive coconut rhinoceros beetle that is currently destroying our trees, the invasive human species of the U.S. military will only lead to further environmental and cultural devastation. According to the DEIS, the military will take at least 2,300 more acres of land.